This is Travis Wayne Goodsell. It's first thing in the morning, so I haven't gotten ready for the day yet, and I haven't gotten to the big announced video presentation yet, so it's coming. This video is just to discuss what was done yesterday by Trump, as they are trying to redefine what gender is. They're not really redefining it. I've already discussed this in my posts, blogs, vlogs, etc. So they probably got it from me. It's about transgenders. The government wants to redefine gender through the scientific method. Now, as Stephen Colbert says, they want to use science. So yeah, they're using science when it fits them and their agenda, and not as an overall theme, as in the case of global warming, for example, the high methane levels in the air. So what's it all about, if you haven't heard? Well, you all know that Daddy and Mommy get together and have a baby. Daddy is the one who determines the sex of the baby. It's all in the DNA. And so there's really no confusion about whether a baby is male or female. It's one or the other. It rarely is both. Although I saw an episode of House, I think it was season 3, in which a child had the two spermatozoids of the father merged into the egg of the mother, and so he had his twin inside his own body, and so he had different DNA. So that was a rare occasion, and one which could technically lead to a malfunction of the embryo, in which a male and a female are produced. But House is known for coming up with the rarest of rarest problems for House to fix. So if you're not familiar with it, go to Amazon. It's available there if you're a Prime member. Or buy it on DVD through Amazon or FYE. So you've probably also heard about those who are born without genitalia. And they're sort of born neuter, but there is no neuter gene. The Greeks were the first ones to invent a language with a neuter grammar, grammatical endings. And then Latin took over from there. Even though the outward body may have a certain genitalia, it does not mean that the DNA indicates the match for the outward features. This is where the production of the embryo fails and doesn't go through its process completely. If you're familiar, everybody starts off in embryo form as female. It takes a while for the pregnancy stages until the male babies produce their male genitalia. And so if the process isn't completed, then the outward body has malfunctions. but I'm sure you guys all know about this. So the question is, why then are there people who believe that though their outward body and DNA tells them that they're one sex, but they're wanting to be and end up dressing up like another sex, like Bruce Jenner, Kylie, is that her name now that she wants to go by? Um, so what's going on? Well, I don't have a full sampling of research on this, so I'll take it for what it's worth. But there's a lot of abuse that's going on in the world. Women are being abused, men are being abused, and then you have people who fall in love with someone of their own sex. Now that's different than transgender. But from women whom I've talked with about being lesbian, it had to do with abuse from a man at the core of why they decided to become lesbian. My uncle decided he wanted to be gay, and he had gotten married to a voluptuous woman, a blonde, almost Barbie doll stereotype practically, and had 3 girls. And then he just up and left and said, "I'm gay. I don't want any more of this." And so I'm not finding situations where people are able to legitimize their claim to having a gene for sexual desire for the same sex or for wanting to be the other sex. Bruce Jenner, his DNA is male. It's always been male. And so what I think we're looking at is victims of abuse. And that problem is not going to be solved by forcing people to be who they are. And what we need to solve is the abuse against people. And I don't see that happening anytime soon, especially under this current administration that dominates our whole nation. You know, it's one thing to say that you don't want to have, you don't want to perpetuate the species. It's another thing to be the victim of abuse and body shaming yourself. That's already an issue with young girls entering teenage years who starve themselves to death thinking they've got to be thin, or women who get implants and cosmetic surgery to be somebody else who they're not. That's body shaming. And that is usually a result of abuse, either from external sources or the person being incorrectly taught that they end up doing it to themselves, abusing themselves. People have tried to blame magazine covers for women as the cause, trying to show that computer generation has thinned the women down on the cover, and that women are so easily mind manipulated to think that they've got to appear just like the women on the cover, unaware that there are different body types. So that's what I wanted to cover, is that we need to stop the abuse in our nation. Once we stop the abuse, then we can start all over and do it right. We can teach people correctly from birth, from before birth, so that we don't have problems that rip us apart as a nation, as a people, as society. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to get mad at me for trying to defend your being abused, you know, what am I supposed to say to that? You're lashing out at the wrong person. You need to go after the people who have caused you to believe that you need to be shamed for who you really are.